I get out of bed with something on my mind. This is a day I've been waiting for. But before I focus on that, let me focus on myself first. When I exited my bedroom, I knew where I was in. I am in John's house for probably the longest time. I forgot about my cottage in the hills. That is where I will go in a few hours. Anyways, I walked to the kitchen and made my breakfast. Minutes later, and I find myself taking a bath to clean myself. I put on some comfortable clothes. A gray shirt and some pants sure are comfortable. I look at myself in the mirror. I've had this beard for the longest time as well. I knew what to do. I decided to shave my beard. I was happy once I was finished. My hair has also grown, so I look a lot different. My friends would still recognize me by my glasses though. I packed my shoulder bag with some food, water, a handkerchief, and some keys. It wasn't long before I was now out and locked the front door with my keys. I went to the horse carriage that John left me because I needed to feed the horses. And so I did, and also gave them water. I spent the next hour exercising by just walking around. It wasn't long until the hour was up and I was ready to take the horses out on the ride. As I arrived in the city, I can't help but wonder about the new buildings in the city. I passed through Great Silvier Cathedral, and it was as I remembered. I wondered about time. Today is the first day of March, 1920. It had been 5 decades since the Queen's accession, but it had been marked with destruction. I recall every day going to the market, where I'd mind my own business when black smoke would arise and start attacking people. This black smoke also has that familiar lady's voice. I also recall that buildings across cities start combusting and burning to the ground. Every building had a black trail on the sidewalk that just screams havoc. The "don't mess with me or else" havoc. I can't go one day without newspapers stating deaths and destruction. Her power doesn't stop there. On some days, the sky would turn pitch black and blood-red lightning would strike. It could be anytime, anywhere. The lightning isn't what it seems, though. It packs a big explosion when it strikes, like a mini bomb. Do you want to know the worst thing about her? She says this is to restore disorder. She believes that the world is always in disorder, and it needs to be perfect. Even newspapers are praising her actions due to fears that if she wasn't. The Blighters and its hundreds of servants are doing what they can to clean up the roads and debris because of this destruction. They told me to stay at my house because I'm too weak to combat these. Now the black smoke has taken the life of my only relative and best friend. The Blighters also haven't recovered from the death of their asset, William. Revenge is the only word that burns in their minds. But there's one moment of the year when she stops spreading her chaos. Throughout her reign, she stopped when she prepares for the most important day in her life, her birthday. And on this March day, it was her time. After minutes of driving, I reached the hilly terrain of my old house. I parked the carriage within walking distance. It feels nostalgic to be back in my previous home. I rushed to its front door and opened it with one of my keys. When I got inside, I smiled that the interior is clean. I inspected all the rooms and they were clean too. You see, this house has a purpose. I found my bedroom and looked for something valuable in its wardrobe. Inside is some clothes, but I reached behind and I got a hold of a big chest. I opened this chest with the last key in my keychain, and inside is a bagpipe. I knew what to do with it. I rushed to the balcony of the house and I played some tunes. It didn't take long before I felt rumbling as I played it. The whole house shook as I played. Once I was done, I went inside to put the bagpipe back in the chest and back in the wardrobe. I went to the living room and I saw it. A staircase was revealed on the floor. I made my way down the stairs to a secret chamber. The chamber had some objects displayed on the wall, mostly of combat. This served as my training ground in combat. I learned how to use a sword, how to dodge with a shield, and how to use a bow. I've been a true knight since the day John died. I needed to learn to fight. I trained only with the sword and shield by the next hour. After an hour, I was done and left the house, making sure to lock the front door. I proceeded to the carriage and drove back to John's home. "You look gorgeous," I told myself. I'm in my fancy suit. I'm wearing all black except for a distinct red scarf. I looked down at the table and grabbed the scroll. I read it again. "Long live the Queen. Her Majesty the Queen invites you to be with her at the Palace of Moor for a special occasion. Arrive at 8 p.m. Attendance is a must." Reading those words gave me the courage to finally face the Queen. Also, it's been a long time since I haven't seen her. It was at that moment that gave me the power to say, "I'm ready." I turned off all the lights in the house and I prepared myself a lantern. I proceeded to that familiar bookshelf, pulled out a book, and watched as the bookshelf made way for a staircase. I silently made my way down those stairs and into the green decorated hallway that I see. I silently walked down that hall to that big circular room. The doors to the room were open. I can see multiple people, all of which I recognize. The blighters are wearing the same color scheme as my suit. "Ah, you're here now, Proximus," Walter remarks at my arrival. "Indeed. Are we all ready to go?" Octavius asked as he looks at all of us. He appears to be confident. "Hold on. Our 3 new assets are training themselves," Laura said. Just as Laura said something about new assets, 3 people walked over to us and looked at me. "Ah, Proximus, I want you to meet Fred, Edwin, and Albert. They will be our guards as we watch the event." William introduced me to these 3 people and I shook hands with them. I expressed my approval of them and their confidence. The leader of the trio, Edwin, says that they'll be there to protect us as their former royal guards. Laura tells me that they call themselves the 3 Clovers. That's because they have 4-leaf clovers on their chest for luck. All have a green suit and all wear white pants and dark boots. I remarked that we'll be a stronger group now that we have security in our midst. I then asked where is Artemia. Walter told me that she decided to go there early to assist us when we go. I asked that we all should take a picture as I happened to bring John's camera. All of them agreed. William wanted to be the one behind the camera. We marched solemnly to the palace gates. We knew what we were getting ourselves into. As we halt in our tracks, an equerry looks at us and tells us the one phrase we want to hear. "You can go in." Walter tips his hat in reply, and we continued to march towards the palace entrance. As soon as we got inside, we were stopped by 2 people, one old and one young. The young one greeted me out of all people. "Ah, you're here for the party, am I right?" "There's a party in the palace?" I asked. "You're so darn right. Her Majesty celebrates the 71st year of our life. It will be a day to remember." The young man then acknowledged that he forgot to introduce himself. He introduces himself as Paul, and he serves as the Knight Admiral of the Kingdom of Wold. "I tell you what, there's something about you that I adore. I can't describe it, but all I can say is that one day you will succeed one of us as one of the greatest." I thanked him for the compliment. Anyways, it was the old man who introduced next. He is Prince Barnard, and he just so happens to be the Queen's royal consort. He told me that he felt happy seeing the Queen celebrate her day with joy. He also agreed with Paul, saying he also noticed something about me. Anyways, I thanked the 2 and we proceeded to the party. We knew where it was because there's a trail on the floor that we followed. The party isn't what I expected. It was just a simple banquet. The number 71 appears on the north wall, an illustration of a crown on the west wall, and a scepter on the east. The banquet also has enough seats for around 200 people. The ceiling also has a fancy chandelier. The walls show off their bright blue color. The people present had their color schemes, and we were in our seats. We rushed to find empty seats for others. At the exact time that we sat down, a fanfare rings out, and a trio walks into the entrance we came from, which is at the south wall. The trio is of Queen Ciara, Prince Barnard, and Knight Admiral Paul. Multiple royal guards accompanied them. The trio made their way to the main seats of the table, while the guards lined up the west and east walls. A silence screams as the trio prepared to start the banquet. Paul began by yelling, "Long live the Queen," and the crowd of people did the same. After a short silence, Prince Barnard yelled out, "Long live Her Majesty," and the crowd did the same. Both men sit down as the Queen stands up and prepares to read her speech. I remembered exactly the words of her speech. "My dear people, I would like to thank you all for attending my birthday banquet. I want to share my joy with you all as I mark the 71st year of my life. It is a wonderful and also a blessing to pass this milestone. And with my two special companions, I ask you all to stand up and raise your chalices to this occasion." And we were all stood up and raised up our chalices. But we were caught off guard when we heard somebody throw their chalice. It breaks. All we heard was the Queen shouting in anger, "Why did you do it?" She couldn't contain herself due to the men staying silent. We watched as the Queen looked to her consort and nodded her head. Prince Bernard then grabbed a concealed pistol from his suit and shot at the man. All hell breaks loose as our Queen then unleashes that familiar black smoke and began attacking the guests.